I want to talk today about something that will become a bigger and bigger issue over the next couple of years when it comes to the things that Joe Biden and Democrats want to do, and the fact that there will be resistance from the Republican Party that's not like the typical resistance we've seen in the past from more traditional Republicans, but a more sort of pernicious and extreme resistance which completely poisons the well for people that want to have good faith debates about what policy should be. And I think the best way to sort of explain what I'm talking about is to imagine it through the lens of one issue. Let's pick the issue of taxes to discuss this, just for the sake of selecting something. There is no one right answer on what tax rates should be and what tax brackets should be and what should be tax deductions versus tax credits versus nothing at all. These are real topics over which there is serious debate. There's a lot of academic literature, for example, which suggests the top marginal tax rate for generating the most government revenue should be 70%. But beyond that, it can start to be a disincentive for people to work. But even if you agree on 70%, at what level of income should that rate kick in? Should it be $2 million a year or 10 or $20 million a year? There are really good debates there. There's not one answer to that question. There are real debates as to whether low or no income tax states are really cheaper to live in, or in a state with no income tax, are you saving on income tax, but there's higher sales tax on average and higher property tax on average? So like, is a no income tax state really cheaper overall, or is it just an illusion meant to attract people with a political statement, we have no state income tax, when you pay more in other types of taxes? Okay, that's a great thing to explore. We can debate whether people should pay any taxes at all if they earn under $10,000 a year or $20,000 a year or $30,000 a year, or should they get a tax credit versus a low tax rate, or where should phase outs begin for certain programs, welfare programs or tax credits or whatever. What about universal basic income? There are good debates being had there. And all of these are debates that can be had in good faith with people who disagree about the answer. Like, I have an opinion about all of those issues, and I recognize there are people with other opinions who are discussing these issues in good faith. They're operating within the realm of what's reasonable. They have valid points to make, and these are the people we need to engage with. The problem here is when extremists poison the well by introducing ideas that, aside from making no sense, are never going to be a reality. So like when you interject the people who say all taxes are theft, or all taxes are slavery as a starting point, or all taxes should be abolished as a starting point. This is the United States. This is a country of 331 million people. We're not getting rid of all taxes. The idea of taxes as slavery is not going to push the debate forward as to what tax policy should be. Or people who say, we should put a 99% tax on incomes over $1 million. No one should be allowed to make over $1 million. It's not going to happen, guys. We're getting nowhere with that as the starting point. And I'm going to distinguish in a moment extremist poisoning the well versus productive stretching of the Overton window. These are two different things. So the people who say, these things, they are often asserting that we should include these ideas because we don't want to suppress speech and we don't want to censor ideas. I agree with that. But as I've said before, not every harebrained idea deserves a seat at the adult table when we're discussing policy. So we often talk about moving the Overton window. For example, the more we talk about Medicare for all as the gold standard, the more a public option seems to be a centrist idea, which it is. The more we talk about $2,000 per month in coronavirus stimulus, the more that a single $2,000 payment seems like a pretty centrist idea, which it is. And so we want to use the Overton window to better our negotiating ability, but taxes are slavery doesn't improve anyone's negotiating ability. It's just a crazy idea. And this is how these new extremists in the House of Representatives are going to be poisoning the well, not necessarily on taxes, but this is the idea of it, and making it impossible for Democrats to do anything, which they've admitted they plan to do. So as a result, as we spoke about yesterday, I'm completely on board with what we learned Bernie Sanders plans to do, and that's use budget reconciliation to get as much done as possible in the Senate with a simple majority rather than requiring 60 votes, meaning they don't need a single Republican, assuming that all 50 Democrats are on the same page. There unfortunately is no other way with people who are fundamentally bad faith actors. Now, I'm willing to have my mind changed, but what good will the idea of bipartisanship do when it just means allowing completely ridiculous ideas to be part of the conversation and completely absurd people to slow down the possibility of progress? So there's the debate about the filibuster that continues. There's the idea of unity and bipartisanship that Joe Biden has expressed as a goal. As I've said before, I don't think it's going to happen. And this is exactly why. These extremist ideas poison the well, and we're seeing it happen already on Fox News. We're seeing it on OAN. We're seeing it on Newsmax. And I believe that while I am willing to have my mind changed, the idea of bipartisanship, merely if that means allowing ridiculous, radical, reactionary ideas into the debate, does nothing good for anybody. And Democrats should simply plow through it for these next at least 2 years, during which they will have control of the House, Senate, and the White House. If you disagree with me, let me know. One of our sponsors is a free mobile game called Word Forest, which I've been having a great time playing on my phone. There are not a lot of mobile games that I actually am into, but Word Forest is one I actually enjoy because I feel like it's helping me keep my mind sharp. We need that right now. It's a word game where you connect letters in any direction to form hidden word matches with over 2,000 levels. You will never get bored of playing. It was really simple to learn how to play because it starts out easy, but I've been loving how it gets more difficult as I progress. But I find that the whole experience is just relaxing. It doesn't have to be super fast paced. It's awesome for anyone who loves word games and has a good vocabulary or wants to improve it. Go ahead and put yourself to the test. It's free. Just go to the Apple or Google store and search for Word Forest.